Truck.
89, Dad.
89 F-150. Today we're going to inspect and possibly change ball joints on it. And it's a nice warm fall day here. We're going to get this out, bang this out real quick if we can, and tell you how it goes. We're starting this job right at noon. And we're going to raise the vehicle on this jack, remove the front tire and rim assembly with the 19mm lug bolts. The next step will be to remove the lockout hub and the brake caliper by driving out these slide pins here and the 6 hex head screws on the lockout hub. Yeah. Alright, there seems to be some confusion about the size of what the Allen wrench is in here. We've tried all of our Allen wrenches.
Got it. Yay.
And we finally found one that fits. Is that the right one?
I think so.
Alright, what size is that? That is a... Well, there's 2 missing out of the kit here, so that's either a 9/64 or a 1/8.
This one might be stripped. Oh my gosh.
You tap it in with a hammer to get it to go into the hole. I'll get a hammer for you. Alright, it is the 9/64. One of the holes is kind of rounded out, so you saw that little trick you did there. You line it up as best you can, then tap it in with a hammer. That'll get you back in without the danger of stripping the inside of it out more than it already is.
Wow. Pull in.
See if anything loose will pop right out.
Gasket material.
That's like a Permatex or silicone gasket sealer of some sort, it looks like.
Do we have to take this out?
See if it pops out by itself. Yeah, I think that has to come out. Needle nose pliers. Let me get the needle nose pliers. Alright, we removed the screw using an impact driver because it was rounded out and we didn't want to snap it off or break it. The impact driver got it out and we'll replace that screw. Once the screw is out, the first gear mechanism piece came out. There you go. Anything else that's come out, or is that it?
Nope. And then
alright, now we're going to pull the spring out. And then I think there's another piece there that might come out.
There's a, what is it called?
Snap ring?
Yeah, supposedly.
Do you see the snap ring?
You said you've seen it, so...
I was lying.
Oh, well, I think I see it. Stop filming.
Stopping filming. That's snap ring pliers. Loosen it. Give it a tightening twist to see, so you get a memory and your idea of how tight it needs to be when you tighten it up. It has to be perfectly square in the hole.
You filming this?
I'm filming.
There we go.
Watching you struggle. Works better if you stand up.
Yeah, I'll stand up. What? Like this.
Keep it straight.
You can't make it straight because it's don't have any sockets. Holes, Dad. That's as straight as we'll go.
Alright, I'll put it in the camera.
That might have been really loose, though. That might have been our problem, because I didn't put that much pressure into it.
I told you to try and tighten it first, see how tight it was.
It wasn't really that tight, but we got to get the specs on this.
We're removing the nut.
It's loose.
If you were to take that brake caliper the rest of the way off, the whole hub will come off now. Alright, we've got the brake caliper loose. We're going to pop that off and set it aside and support it. We're going to slide the whole axle and brake assembly off now. That's good then.
Alright.
It's probably loose.
Alright, let's do it.
No.
I'll start roasting.
What size socket is that, do you think? Is that like a 9/16?
Oh, that's a 14 and it fits just fine.
The 14 fits just fine. We're taking the hub plate off, the back plate here, and that'll allow us to remove the dust cover. Once the hub plate and dust cover are out, then we should be able to pull the axle out. Sometimes when your nut gets stuck in the socket, the best way is to screw it back on 2 or 3 turns and then wiggle it back and forth until it pops off. And then you can remove this nut by hand. Alright, we're using an 1.1/8" socket. We've got the ball joint loose, and there you go, with the extra little enforcer bar on there. we're able to loosen the nut on top of the lower ball joint. 34mm socket deep set for the top
Are we ready?
ball joint nut. And the extra enforcer bar here. And he's going to give it a good pull, and nice steady pull, and not too hard. Nope.
Nope.
That one's not moving yet. We're going to heat it up and try with some heat to help it.
Yep.
Propane torch. We're heating it with the propane torch. Once we get the top ball joint nut off, we'll drop the tie rod end out, which should be pretty easy since it's only less than a year old. Should drop right out. And then we will pound downward on the steering knuckle itself to drop the steering knuckle and the ball joints out of the front frame assembly. Wow, that was a lot of work. We can't believe we had to pound on this for like a half hour with a pickle fork and a sledgehammer and a matching sledgehammer on the other side. But we got it. We pounded the heck out of it. We got it off. We also made generous use of the propane torch. The torch is what really helped out. We hit the top area here around that collar, and then right down there on the lower control arm part right there, we hit that part too. And what I found out that was you heat it and keep heating it until you can see the grease bubbling up around the ball joint shaft. Once the grease was bubbling up and you could tell it was starting to break up inside and loosen up, a couple of good strong whacks from the top down, and it popped off finally. So we had the heat, we had the pickle fork on the bottom providing downward tension while we tapped on the top nut or top ball joint stem, and it worked out pretty darn good. Then we moved back to the workbench area, which is what we call the tailgate of the F-150. Use this as our workbench. We separated the ball or universal joint from the drive shaft in a traditional manner. It wasn't loose, but one of the joints was like seized up and very hard to turn, so we went ahead and pulled that out. We didn't actually have a universal joint here though, so we still got to run to the store and get a U-joint for it. And we did have a bottom ball joint. You can see we've used a ball joint press kit, and we pressed both of them out, and we've actually pressed the lower one back in already. You can see the two old ones that we've pressed out. Those actually came out quite easily with the big new ball joint press kit, and we'll show you a demonstration of that when we get the new one and start pressing it in, how it set that up and how it works.